How's it going, everybody? My name is Nick. I also go by Golden Guy, and I am your coach of the Philadelphia Pinsirs. And guess what? We're coming back to you with another draft league, draft analysis. This one is for a new league that we joined. It's Season 4 of the UNPL. What that stands for is the Uva Naranja Premier League. This league is primarily run over on YouTube by It's Danny Mac. So thanks for having us here. We're looking to have a great time. And yeah, I'm just gonna go over a few of the rules that were put in place for this draft, and then I'm gonna go over my draft, why I picked what I picked, and hopefully some synergy that I may have seen with my picks, if there actually was any. So all of that being said, for this draft, we had, I think it was 115 points to draft up between 10 and 12 Pokemon for our team. That being said, these mons, they were separated out into, I think it was tiers of between 20 and 1 point. Things like Tianpao, I think it was Deoxys Speed, and I don't remember, there was one other one, and Palafin were in the 20-point tier, and then things were ranked all the way down to 1 point, which was absolutely fantastic. And then at the end of the draft, we were able to declare our Terra captains and give them 3 Terra types that we can Terra into. These Terra captains could only be made from, I think it was 12 points or lower, and each captain was worth the amount of points of whatever tier it was in. And then we could choose, and we had 18 points to do this with. The Terra types that they could be, they had to be at least 1 stab, and you could have up to 2 other non-stabs. And then if you happen to be a 6-point or lower mon, you had access to the Stellar Terra option as well. So from there, y'all know, if you've been around for a while, been watching the content, that Philadelphia Pinsirs and one mon go together like peanut butter and honey. Here, peanut butter, I like honey on my peanut butter sandwiches, but peanut butter and jelly. And that one mon is, because we had the #1 overall pick for the Naranja division, that one mon is, of course, Dragapult. You know by now, if it is on the board, we are going to grab it. We were #1. There were lots of things that we could have picked. I didn't feel like going into new toy syndrome. It's a new league for me. I want to show out while I'm here, so I'm going to pick some things that I'm comfortable with, and Dragapult is obviously one of them. You can look back through this entire generation. I've had Dragapult probably in all but maybe 1 league, maybe 2 leagues, and we have some top finishes every single time if we're not catching the championship. But I like to start off with Dragapult. I like to get a ghost in really early, strong dragon type as well. And of course, it is one of the fastest mons in the meta, outside of like Regieleki or Deoxys Speed for that matter. But we take them on pretty well, and I don't envision too many things being able to take us out this season. It also has a fantastic attack stat, good special attacker as well. We can drop some Specs Dracos, pivot in and out, and potentially just use it to break for something to clean up later in the game, or set up and sweep at the end point of the game. So you're like, okay, so now we have to wait. I think there's 8 games, so 16 teams per division, if I remember correctly. Let's check that out real quick. Schedule, that's what I want. No, sorry, 12 teams per division, so we were #1, had us go all the way to 12 and then back to us. So we had to wait quite a while for us to get our next pick. And with that next pick, we ended up grabbing Metagross. Now, I have never used Metagross in a draft format before. However, I have seen it used, it's been used against me. It's always a threat to prep against, and it's something that I've always wanted to try. And it was still on the board. It's strong steel type, strong psychic type. And I'm like, okay, let's grab it. It's very hard to take out in one hit. We can set up with things like an agility weakness policy set, or just maybe an assault vest, set up some stealth rocks here or there. he got access to knockoff in this latest iteration of DLC, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, I always struggle to get a stronger steel type later on in the draft because they tend to go pretty quickly, but I always try to prioritize things as the draft goes on. So I'm pretty glad that it got Metagross, and we had the wheel pick right here, right? And with this next wheel pick, we pick up none other than Hisuian Samurott. This thing gets drafted ever since it has been allowed into the game. It's an auto spikes button as long as we can hit with that Ceaseless Edge, and there's really no drawback from hitting it because if we hit, then we get the spikes up, and that's pretty awesome. And hazard damage will go a long way to help support the team over time, just with things the rest of the team, and then allowing things like Metagross and potentially Dragapult to just sweep in the end game. So now, and we also got a dark type out of this, which you're looking at the team, you're like, oh, you really don't need a dark type right this second. I mean, we do, because we have to resist the ghost type attacks that are coming in on Metagross, the ghost type attacks that are going to want to hit Dragapult. And with Hisuian Samurott, we can do that. And it's a great assault vest user, pretty choice scarf. We can run some pretty fun sets with this, and it's got access to knockoff and sucker punch. I know whenever I have Dragapult, I don't want to go up against Hisuian Samurott because I tend to struggle a lot against that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to grab it so I don't have to go against it, and I really wanted to try it out. Now, we're waiting again, and when it finally gets back to us, we pick up Galarian Weezing. And I enjoy, so this fills out that Fairy Dragon Steel core that a lot of people try to go for. I really don't care about cores as I'm drafting. I just want to have things that synergize well together and try not to make my team too overtly weak to a particular type so that that type can't be spammed against me. But this does fill out a core, and it's a great defensive check, and it has access to defog. So I think it's like the next, this pick, then following one, and either the one after that or two after that are what I'm using primarily for hazard control. We get access to defog here, we get access to toxic spikes, haze, clear smog, strange steam is always fun to spam, and it's like automatic toxic if we want to go that route. So we could probably run a toxic spike, Galarian Weezing, and then maybe a Specs Hex set on Dragapult or something along those lines. So as long as we can support the main attackers of the team, we'll be doing great. I have performed well with Galarian Weezing in the past. Smoker's coming back, and yeah, we're just hoping to take some names. Next up is another fan favorite, coach favorite of the Philadelphia Pinsirs, and that is Colossal. And as you can see, Colossal is going to be one of our Terra captains, baby. Terra, Fire, Water, and Fairy. Not going to go too much into it because I do have some heat for it for later on this season, depending on who I get to play against. But this thing is absolutely bulky, can tank hits for days. Just slap some heavy duty boots on it, slap an assault vest on it, rapid spin things away. You're even going to see, I guarantee it, you're going to see Tar Shot come out of me at one point during the season. I love it. It's going to be fun. Colossal's just a nuisance for my opponent and always fun for me to build with. Next up, we got another rapid spinner in Toedscruel. And yeah, I mean, I've grown recently. I have a fond attachment growing for Toedscruel. It has ended up on, like, I think the last 2 or 3 teams that I've drafted, and it always puts in work. You can see that I was really lacking in the special defense department at this point, so I wanted to grab something I knew I was comfortable with, especially defensive, and Toedscruel was there to fill that role. Gets access to Rapid Spin, gets access to Spore, although the Mycelium Mite ability will definitely hinder us in that. But I don't think it's going to be too much of a big deal. We get things like Knockoff, we can set up Stealth Rock spikes, and hopefully just support the team like it's supposed to do. Then we have Kilowattrel, and this is going to be another one of our Terra captains. I chose Kilowattrel because I like to have a fast electric type on the team, and because it was able to Terra and it wasn't going to take away from Colossal or another Terra captain that I was looking at later down the line, I was like, okay, let's go with this. I like the fast electric type. Flying type gets rid of some of, gives me another ground immunity, and so that it helps out Metagross and Colossal a bit better. It's fast, it can hit decently well on the special side. And we can make it a Terra Captain, so we've got Terra Flying, so we don't have to rely on Hurricanes, but we get something a bit stronger than Air Slash if we need to. Terra Water to hit those ground types, and then Terra Ground to hit those rock and steel types that might want to come in and resist otherwise my normal stabs for this thing. Next up, Sneasler. Sneasler was still on the board in what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, round 8. Sneasler was still on the board. I love a great fighting type to pair with Dragapult, to hit those dark types that typically want to come in and wall it. Oh, and guess what? Dragapult also gets pretty walled by some strong fairy types, and Sneasler's here with that poison stab as well, so Sneasler's going to be rocking it. We can also pair it with the Unburden ability that it has access to, and a Misty Terrain Galarian Weezing. I can guarantee you're going to see that at some point during the season. Catch our opponents off guard, late game sweep with the Sneasler. Dire Claw is absolutely nothing to shake your head at. We can either, poison, paralyze, or sleep an opponent a majority of the time. Pair that with Poison Touch, and we're just throwing around poisons all willy-nilly. It's got a great speed stat. We can U-turn in and out. It's a great Scarf Abuser if we need it to be. And there's just going to be a lot of fun play with it. I can feel it coming. I've been wanting to use it since it came out, much like the Hisuian Samurott. But it always gets picked before I can ever get to it. And I don't think it's worth a round 1 pick, personally. But by the time it would come back to me in round 2, it's always gone. So I'm glad I could pick it up here in round 8. Next up, we've got a my buddy's favorite over on Just JH, Blinky Bill, the Komala. I'm not going to name it Blinky Bill, but that's what he likes to call it. Another Rapid Spinner, Wish support user. This one's gives me a normal type for the team, so I can sponge some Ghost type attacks if I need to. And he's pretty much there just to be some support. Make it to where you can't spam Ghost type attacks against me all willy-nilly. And yeah, I mean, that's what he's there to do. He hits pretty hard on the physical side, and I'm pretty sure I can bring an offensive Kamal at some point during the season and catch somebody off guard. Round 10, baby. Clefable was still available. Clefable. I hate prepping for Clefable. It's an absolute unit to have to deal with. So if I can have it on my team, even though it's a second fairy type, fantastic. They're only weak to steel and fairy, and I'm not, or steel and poison, and I'm not weak to those types at all on this team. So let's bring it. Maybe we can have a setup Clefable just rocking it, or unaware, just so that you can't set up all over me, and I can just come in, sponge those hits, wish out into something else, maybe a Dragapult, and get off an attack later on. But yeah, I like using Clefable. I don't think I use it the best, but I'm hoping to get better with it. And yeah. Last but certainly not least for the team is a mon that has become recently near and dear to my heart, shares a name with me. I like to think it's probably my namesake, I guess. And it's going to be our last Terra Captain, and that is Golduck. Terra Water, Stellar Terra availability, and Terra Electric. I chose this because I saw a lot of weather teams in the draft, and obviously Golduck gets access to that Cloud9 ability. I do think it can put in work. It'll catch people off guard. People don't necessarily know to prep for. It's got a decent speed stat, and I believe there's at least one rain team where I can probably take advantage of the Swift Swim aspect. It may not look it because of that. It's only base 95 special attack, base 82 attack, but it can hit pretty hard. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be the team, guys. I think I've got a well-rounded team. It's got a majority of the mons that I have used in past seasons. I think the only new ones are Sneasler, Metagross, and Hisuian Samurott. I've used everybody else at least once or twice in this generation, mind you. And yeah, we're coming in. We're coming in hopefully to put a vice grip on the competition. and yeah, hopefully walk away with the UNPL Season 4 championship. Again, my name is Nick. I also go by Golden Guy, and I'm your coach of the Philadelphia Pinsirs. Peace.